our first Parent Coffee and Conversation of the year. This is a great turnout. I'm so excited to see all of you. I know you're very busy, so I appreciate you taking the time to be here today. We have a great group of speakers this morning, so I want to get to them quickly. But before we do, I just have a few acknowledgments. First, I'd like to thank our teachers and administrators for all the care and attention that they're showing our children. Their enthusiasm and excitement is contagious, and the kids are excited to go to school every day, which makes very happy parents, so thank you. I'd like to acknowledge our 26 room representatives who have welcomed back our returning families and warmly welcomed our new families. They are busy working on our fall parent socials for the classroom, and those are a great way to connect with other parents on a smaller and more personal level. And finally, thank you to our Parents Council and all of their many volunteers. They have been working very hard since the summer to get our events up and running. We realized that now that we're back to normal, the pandemic has been declared to be over. So we know that probably more than half of the school has never experienced a normal PAWS event. So I hope that you can join us after this, just for a little bit over in the library, for an informal volunteer fair, just to be able to meet the committee chairs and learn more about their events, and to see what you might be interested in signing up for. All right, so I'm gonna have a couple announcements about some upcoming events. Parent education. Peyton Williams, our parent education chair, and Becky McKnight have put together this very thoughtful slate of education opportunities. It's a wide, varied venue, and hopefully there's something on here that is interesting to you and works for your schedule. This is a parent coffee. We have 2 more of these. There's one in February, and the one in February will be a follow-up to today's topic, and then we'll have another one in April. And these coffees, we invite a speaker to talk about a topic of interest to our entire lower school parent body. PAWS also has their own meetings, and those are for the entire parent body, lower school, upper school, and middle school. We are encouraged to come to those, and the next one on October 18th will actually be a joint PAWS in lower school and PAWS combined meeting, so definitely mark your calendars for that one. I am very excited to announce the debut of lower school office hours, which Peyton and Becky came up with. This will be a once-a-month casual drop-in after morning carpool. You'll get a chance to meet for 30 minutes with different members of our administration to ask questions or just to hear any updates. So our very first one will be next Wednesday, September 28th in the library after morning carpool. And our featured guest will be Lauren DuPriest, so you'll want to be sure to mark your calendars for that one. And again, Food for Thought will be coming back. This is our weekly Zoom meeting for 30 minutes over the lunch hour. It runs from, It runs from, so sorry, this was my fear. This was my fear. Sorry. Okay, sorry about that.
Stop calling Farrah, you guys.
Okay, Food for Thought. Weekly Zoom meetings over the lunch hour, a different parenting strategy. You hear a conversation every week, and it comes from podcasts and books. That runs from October to March, and then from March to May is Friday FaceTime. Fridays at 1 p.m. on the playground, you'll meet with Becky and Peyton. They'll discuss any topics that are interesting relating to education or parenting. You'll be on the playground, the kids can play from 1 to 2. You'll hang out on the picnic tables, and that'll be another nice way to connect. So this is a lot of information. There's a couple handouts over there. You see the QR code. There's this lovely calendar that Peyton put together of all of the dates, all of the topics, locations, and times that you can find on the parent portal. And so it just sounds overwhelming, but if you go to the PAWS and lower school page of the parent portal, you'll be able to find all of it. And this is the QR code as well. Any questions about parent education? Okay, and now we have some volunteer opportunities that are, I wanted to tell you about some events that are coming up. These are, I'm going to highlight the ones that the chairs are looking for volunteers for specifically. October 1st is Everybody Cooks, and if you haven't been before, it's really fun. It's a lower school-wide family potluck. Families bring dishes that are important to them to share with others. The children play games that the affinity groups host. And hopefully this year we will have amazing weather. We have moved it from the spring to the fall, and it's at the summer camp to capitalize on the nice weather, and we really hope that you will come. Please do not be intimidated by the potluck aspect. Yes, some families do prepare dishes from recipes that have been handed down for generations. I bring mac and cheese because there's so many kids and that's what my kids like. And I think Amy and Anjali already told me that they have already at least 100 kids who have RSVP'd, so it's going to be a great turnout. But they could definitely use your help if you're interested. I mean, you can imagine this is a massive undertaking, so they need help both with the setting up, handing out pans at carpool. You can sign up on the Sign Up Genius, but they also would just love you to RSVP so they can get an accurate head count from the forward. So definitely mark your calendars for that one. Harvest decorations is coming up. Fall's around the corner, so it's time to make the campus fall-like and getting everybody, setting the tone, especially with all of our visitors coming for admissions season. That'll be nice to have that. We rely heavily on donations of decorations, and we'll be collecting those next week in carpool, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Please send in, think fall, so pumpkins, gourds, bales of hay, mums. Just add it to your grocery list next time you're out at Trader Joe's or Costco and you see something, just grab it. And just to try to spur enthusiasm, Amanda Price came up with pumpkins for pajamas. So the grade that brings in the most donations for decorations will get a pajama day. And we know how much everyone loves pajama day. So please help with that. She also needs help with setup and takedown. So please keep everybody cooks and harvest decorations in mind. Greek Festival is also coming up next week. This applies to 5th grade. I think Amy, Kinchelo, and Kate Morgans are all set with their volunteers, but you'll probably be seeing lots of pictures of Greek gods and goddesses. Other grade-wide capstone events that are coming up that you can volunteer for, if you have a 3rd grader, is Lovestock, and for 4th graders, Westward Week. If you prefer decorating and holidays, Halloween is in the corner. You can help with Halloween decorations. And remember, if you help with Halloween decorations, and if you have a pre-first, first, or 2nd grader, you can walk in the parade with your child, which they love. It's really fun to have that back. And then don't forget to sign up for your Halloween classroom party. And it seems far away, but we'll be here before we know it. Christmas decorations, Christmas pageant, and the Christmas party. If you like service opportunities in the fall, we have Reader to Reader in October. It'll be the week of preparing books for donations to schools in need. This is one of my favorite events because you really get to know just a large cross-section of people by sitting around and preparing books. I highly encourage you to sign up for that one. And then there's Angel Tree in December, where our families are Secret Santas to families at the Atlanta Youth Academy. And then we have many recurring opportunities throughout the year. Debbie Cushing loves having our volunteers in the library to help with the books. You can help Monica Coughlin with the birthday celebrations once a month. And if you had a great time at the Pigskin Picnic, you can come to the fair afterwards and meet Andrea Watson and Denise Hendricks, who are here to represent catbackers and to tell you about how you can get involved with athletics even at the lower school level. So it's a lot of information. Again, please just go to the PAWS and lower school page on the parent portal. All of the information is there. The community service calendar is updated, all of the Sign Up Genius links, and then the education opportunities calendar. All right, so now I would like to turn it over to Pia De Leon. Pia is not just my son's amazing 3rd grade teacher. She is also the cheer coach for JV basketball. And she is a Wildcat parent. Her son James is in 5th grade. I asked Pia to give the devotion today because of her amazing experience this summer as the advisor for WCAT, the upper school Jan-term group that went to Guatemala. So now let's do a bit of a technical situation here. Let's put the sound back on. I hope I don't get any phone calls. And let's switch this.
Sorry, good morning, everybody. I'm not feeling 100%, so I'm gonna try to do this, but my voice is normally not this deep. We'll just be, adding a little spice. Now, this is a story all about how my life got flipped, turned upside down. And I'd like to take a minute, just sit right there. I'll tell you how I became not the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, but much more self-aware. I'm what you would call indoorsy. Some people choose to hear the sounds of nature on a camping trip. I choose to hear the sounds of nature through the speakers of a spa. I don't like to get dirty. I don't really even like dirt at all. But the choice to like or not like dirt is a privilege I didn't realize I had until I went to Guatemala. I've seen poverty, but I've never witnessed it like this. We all participate in community service, but to have the family whose life you're changing work alongside you, laugh with you, and form a relationship with you takes on a whole new meaning of service. Looking back, I'm so grateful that nobody, Lauren Priest, sat me down and really told me what being a WCAT would entail. Because had I known ahead of time, I may have opted not to go, or I may have over-prepared and missed out on the life-changing lessons I learned. Here I was making mashed bananas for our students during our Guatemala unit, and guess what? I didn't eat one banana in Guatemala. I don't even remember seeing bananas. This is the Machan, Sequin, and Jai family. They are the family we all built the house for. The original house was a shack made of tin walls and a tin roof. While some of us love the sound of rain trickling outside of our window, I'll never forget the sound of rain thrashing their roof like a million hammers falling from the sky. The floor of their house, there was no floor. It was just the ground made of dirt. This was day 3 of building, and your eyes don't deceive you. That is, in fact, me on the scaffolding. I was helping our worker, Julio, fill the gaps of the blocks with cement, and every part of my body hurt. The cement I'm filling gaps with, I carried that industrial-sized bag of cement on my back down a hill. I don't even like to roll my own luggage at the airport. As we were all working, the mom of the family surprised us with a 2-liter bottle of Coca-Cola and little bags of Cheetos. She walked down the hill to the convenience store and surprised us with a little snack break. Her preference is Pepsi, but she knew we all liked Coke because we had explained to her that Atlanta is the home of Coca-Cola. She bought the Cheetos because she saw one of the teenagers, one of our WCATs in our group, eating it 2 days before, and he had shared that with her kids. It was in this moment that I just could not believe that someone who had so little, who had nothing, could still be so incredibly gracious, thoughtful, and giving. And it's not just in buying something, but it was in the way that she thought about what to give as a gift. Hola, Fernando, Julio. Hola, Melanie. Hola. This family are the happiest people I've ever met. And when I say happy, I mean truly happy. The most genuine smiles I've ever seen. How can people with so little, with nothing at all, be so happy? Here we have everything. We have absolutely too much, and we still aren't satisfied. So what makes them so genuinely happy? Relationships. What mattered to them most were the relationships they had with each other. Because all they have are the relationships. There's no social media, no comparison, no envy, no distractions. Isn't that something? To be so genuinely happy in life, not because of what you have, but because of the people you have. People have asked what my takeaways were from this trip. There are so many. I can talk about how the day we finished building the house and the chicken bus arrived to pick us up, I took my hiking boots off my feet and handed them straight over to Miss Machan. And how this moment teaching moment of my life. How nothing makes you more humble than a non-existent bathroom situation. How the schools we visited had just the basic necessities to teach, but we're still able to ignite the love for learning. And how getting dirty is an option to some, but not an option to many. But getting dirty can easily change someone's life. There is not a day that goes by where I don't think about this family. In fact, it took me a good 3 weeks to acclimate back into our life of abundance. It still seems very unnatural to me to have changed someone's life and have them change mine, yet not know what's to come of one another. But I hold steadfast in my heart the grandest lesson I learned, that the key to happiness are the relationships we keep, our relationships with our family, friends, colleagues, our students. Building our big house of life begins with relationships. I'd like you to think of one person you have a relationship with, and think of that person as we bow our heads in prayer. Heavenly Father, every gift you provide comes down from above. Of all the people we meet in this life, we are truly blessed to find even one true friend. We give you thanks and praise for bringing this person into our lives. We pray that you keep him or her safe from all harm and danger. We give thanks for our relationships, for connections and laughter, for comfort and strength, for encouragement and unity, for forgiveness and grace, for celebration and for joy. Help us to remember, as iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another. Amen. As you go about your day, it is my hope that you remember this. Whether it's your faith, career, family, championship team, or even a house, building begins with the ultimate foundation, relationships.
Yeah, it's very inspiring, and I'm excited that our kids have the opportunity when they get to upper school to have that kind of experience. All right, now, let's switch back. All right. And now I'd like to welcome our president, Keith Evans, who will give us an update and welcome.
Thank you, Pete, and thank you, Farah. I really just want to start out by saying thank you to Farah and to PAWS in the Lower School for getting us kicked off and starting off with so many different opportunities for parents. This is really a pretty extraordinary whole kind of menu of different options, and so I really encourage you to engage with this group and to be a part of it. I think what you'll find is that time invested in these relationships now not only pays off now, but it pays off in middle school and upper school as we all kind of raise our children together. And so there's a lot of those opportunities here, and I'm really grateful for them, and thank you for organizing all of it. I also just want to note that this is a fuller room than we're often have for PAWS in the Lower School, and everything is a little bit fuller. We seem to have larger moments this year, which is great. A community that's kind of coming back together. We had 2,000 people RSVP to come to the Pigskin Picnic, and it looked like there were at least 10,000 there. My hope always is that all of your children came home in one piece as they were running around. I had a number of parents I was talking to where I was talking to one that's like, oh yeah, my husband, he's the chaser tonight. He's with the kids running around. And so these big moments that bring our community together, of course, are always remarkable, and they have a kind of energy and verve to them. But there's some small moments too that happen that I think are equally kind of precious to us. One of them is going to actually happen here tomorrow. I want to take a quick poll. How many of you all are second grade parents? Have at least, okay. So we're doing something tomorrow which I really look forward to, and we haven't done it in a long time. We're having a Board of Trustees meeting in Love Hall, and we're going to be doing it right in the middle of the day. Our board will be meeting in the library, and then coming in here to have lunch with the second grade. Just giving you an opportunity to talk to your second grader. So I have this kind of vision of these second graders coming home and going, this strange person sat down with me at lunch today, and not quite sure what they do or what they were here for, but so our board will kind of have the business side of the meeting in the library, and then come in just as the second graders will be having lunch. We'll, of course, have them ready for that, and one or two trustees will sit at each table and have a chance to hear what's on the minds of second graders. That's really important for our board. We expose them to a lot of different aspects of life of students and faculty, often probably default a little more to older students, and so this opportunity for them to hear from the citizens of Love Hall is something we're really looking forward to. One of the other reasons why we're here, that is why the meeting is here, is because we're also thinking a lot about the future of Love Hall and the future of this facility, potential construction renovation plans and those kinds of things. I'm not quite ready to put those slides up here, but after tomorrow we may very well be, and we'll find an opportunity to talk a little bit about what's ahead that way. But we do have a twinkle in our eye about what might happen here at Love Hall as we look at some really obvious storage issues and other things that we have. We're going to do a little bit of work on that. In the meantime, I want to thank you all for participating this morning. I was joking a little bit with Dana that I feel like if there was a casualty of the pandemic that was number one on my list, it was executive function. And it wasn't so much about the kids. It's been, we all probably need a little coaching on executive function here these days. And so this is going to be a great program. But thanks again for coming out. We got some great news, I think, ahead for Love Hall, not only in these programs and opportunities, but for other big plans that we've got coming forward. And we'll be back in touch with all of that and keep you posted on all of it. So thank you very much. Am I handing off to Lauren?
Yes, please.
Okay, we'll hand off directly to Lauren. Lauren, there you go, to introduce our speaker.
Thank you. I'm walking around with my pen so I can capture everything that Dana says in just a little bit. As Pia was talking about, the relationships that we cultivate are incredibly important, and we're so happy to have you back in the building. And it's a huge compliment to Farah and to Dana that this event is really standing room only. We had to subtly add some chairs over on the side so we can seat more people, and we look forward to having more opportunities to welcome you into the building, let you see the learning that's happening in Love Hall. I wanted just to give you a snippet of what we've done so far as we've kicked off the year. There's been a lot of great energy in the building. Sometimes a little bit too much energy, but especially on a rainy day. But with Pre-First, we are successfully practicing those routines that are really important for becoming a real learner in Big Kids School. First grade just had their community tour on Friday where they got to visit different places on campus. And then it culminated in the pep rally where they got a shout out from the Wildcats, which, I mean, you could just see them beaming with pride. Our second graders, in addition to having lunch with the Board of Trustees tomorrow, no big deal, they have actually just wrapped up a tour within their homerooms, a rotation, where they have done various scavenger hunts and worked with Senora Sabates to learn about different landforms worldwide as part of their geography unit. Third grade has been traveling the Silk Road, and I had my own third grader talk to me about which spices he traded for what, because this was going to keep me warmer, and I didn't need cinnamon. It would have been nice to have cinnamon, so just listening to how they are going through that process of what is necessary and then just what that journey is like. And our Silk Road was down at Carpool A, and our third grade teachers did a really wonderful job of just transforming that space. Fourth grade, as Farah alluded, they are gearing up for westward expansion. Well, they will be fully immersed in the life of a pioneer. They will churn butter, they will quilt, they will have to figure out what to pack in their wagon and how much it costs versus how much their wagon and the axles can hold. They will build wagons. They will do teamwork games. It's a really incredible week. Look for plaid in your closet because it is fun to dress in character, and more information will be coming home about that. And then our fifth graders, again, as Farah alluded, they are writing their monologues for the Greek Living Museum, which is always a favorite of mine. They do such a wonderful job of really embodying the Greek god and goddess that they have been researching and learning about. So that's really exciting coming up just at the end of this month. The days have flown by so far. I'm adjusting to a new role as well as a parent of a middle schooler for the first time. And so when Farah came to us about executive functioning, we're like, yes, all the yes, yes, yes. Thank you so much. And so it is with great pleasure that I introduce Dana Eisenman. She is a clinical therapist who has extensive experience working with children and adults to manage anxiety, ADHD, learning differences, and behavioral challenges. Furthermore, Dana specializes in executive functioning and helps families develop systems to maintain order and organization, which they can employ through various environments in their lives. After receiving her undergraduate degree in psychology at Trinity College, Dana worked in the school setting as a classroom teacher, learning specialist, and executive functioning specialist at Galloway, before earning her master's degree in clinical mental health counseling from Wake Forest University. Dana specializes in cognitive behavioral therapy, along with art and play expressive therapies, to help her clients develop tools that lead to a feeling of control and success in their lives. Over the past several years, Dana has worked in the private practice setting here in Atlanta, seeing individuals and running various groups at Art It Out, and is currently a senior therapist at the Atlanta Children's Center. Additionally, Dana is an assistant director of an overnight camp where she has the opportunity to help children grow and develop into independent, happy, and confident individuals. Dana lives in Sandy Spring and is the proud mom of 2 young children with a third one on the way. We are thrilled that Dana is joining us today to talk about executive functioning, nuts and bolts for parents. This talk is the first of a 2-part series. In February, at the next Parent Coffee and Conversation, you will hear from our directors of teaching and learning, as well as our student support team. Whitney Woodward, Laura Kopp, Sasha Mills, and Sophie Daniels will discuss how the curriculum incorporates the development of executive functioning skills and builds confidence in our students. Please join me in welcoming Dana.
Thank you so much for that welcome. It's so nice to be back in a school setting. As you mentioned, I worked in a school setting for about a decade, and so it's really nice to be back and see everybody in person and not behind a screen. The last several of these talks I've done have been virtually, so I'm so happy to be here and see you guys. So we're going to go through a lot of information, and then I want to make sure I leave time at the end to answer any questions that you guys have. As Lauren mentioned, I do have 2 young kids. My oldest is in kindergarten this year and constantly tests my patience when it comes to executive functioning skills. So it's definitely a good reminder for me that, these are skills. You're not born with the ability to function executively. And so it's something that you have to learn and be taught and practice over and over and over again. So he is a very good reminder for me for that. Okay. So, what is executive functioning? You look it up online, you find a million different definitions of it. The one that I have come to appreciate the most is that executive functioning encompasses any skill that is required to execute a task. So if you think from conception of idea to follow through and everything in between, those are your executive functioning skills. And I mentioned a few minutes ago that these are skills, right? You're not born with them. You have to learn them, just like you go to school and you learn the ABCs, a new language, math, all of those things are skills as well. So it's really important. I feel like, you know, in today's world, we're getting on board with needing to explicitly teach these skills, but I think for a while we just kind of assumed that, like, okay, I'm an adult, I know how to do this. Why don't these kids know how to do this too? Whereas we've now become more and more aware that they need to be taught. And they need to be taught at an age-appropriate level. And I think that's also hard as an adult. You know, we're so far removed from it. As an adult, it's hard to remember, like, what is age-appropriate? So we're gonna go through that also. So it also involves regulations of thoughts and actions. So a lot of times, kids who struggle with executive functioning skills will present with, you know, they might be impulsive, they might have these big swings of emotions because they're unable to kind of get it all together in their heads, and it feels very overwhelming and they get very flooded. So a lot of times you'll see that. And then it's not a learning difference in and of itself. So it's not like dyslexia or dysgraphia. However, it often goes along with learning differences. It doesn't have to, but a lot of times kids with learning differences will also present with challenges in executive functioning. It also allows for you to accomplish a goal. So some of the skills that are involved with executive functioning are planning an organization, and that's everything from, like, keeping your room organized to figuring out, okay, I have this list of 6 assignments that I have to do. 2 are due Tuesday, 1 is due Wednesday. I have a long-term project due Thursday. Oh yeah, and I have a test in 2 subjects on Friday. And then we're going away for the weekend. So things like that is definitely rooted in executive functioning. Time management, how to initiate a task. So, like, imagine getting an assignment, you have this big long-term project or this big paper, and you sit down to write it, and you're like, where do I start? So task initiation, sustained attention, and goal-directed persistence. I love the word grit. A lot of times kids who struggle with executive functioning struggle with that grit and that ability to, like, push through because they literally don't know how. They don't know where to start. Maintaining emotional control and inhibition, working memory, impulse control, and self-monitoring. If you have young kids, which most of you in this room do, that impulse control is something that can throw you a little bit. It can be a lot. And then the social and mental flexibility. So a lot of times, kids who struggle with executive functioning skills are very rigid. They have a very hard time when they have to shift from one thing to another. When I worked in an independent school and I worked at Galloway, one of my favorite professional development days was a day where the teachers were students for a portion of the day. And we had to start and go through the day doing everything a student did. And it was so eye-opening, the number of different things that they have to keep track of, the number of, like, books that they need. They need these materials for this class. In this class, they can sit wherever they want, but in that class, they have to sit at a certain table, and here's the routine for each class. And that ability to shift feels very, very, very challenging if executive functioning skills are something that you struggle with. Following directions is also hard. A lot of times, break it down, one step at a time is much better than a series, and we'll go through more strategies later on. Shifting from task to task, just like I mentioned. So, like, if you have, like, on the weekends, if you've got soccer, and then play practice, and then grandma's birthday, going from one to the next can feel like a lot. And as a parent, we are forced into thinking about it, how to organize, how to plan it. But I think a lot of times we like forget to help scaffold that for the kids, and we just kind of bring them along, and they're like, what's happening? Where are we going now? What are we doing? And so a lot of times it can feel, and that's when you'll see a lot of the emotional dysregulation, because they're like, no orientation and no idea what's going on. So that's something that I know I have seen at home a lot. It goes along with remembering the sequence of activities and learning from past, I don't like the word mistakes, but like, learning from things that have happened beforehand and figuring out, okay, now that happened, now what do I do with it to make sure that doesn't happen again? That's really hard for kids who struggle with executive functioning. So like, as an adult, we're like, why are we doing the same thing over and over again? But they don't have the ability to do any differently unless we teach them. Turning in assignments. This is like the one thing that like really gets me. And I feel so much for these kids with executive functioning. They'll spend all this time on an assignment. They'll work so hard on something. They'll practice, so much, and then they'll forget to turn it in. Or they'll forget to, they made this like amazing thing for their room at home, and they'll forget to actually put it in a room. And so that actual like last step of turning something in, and as a parent, you're like, well, why? You did all the work, turn it in, just put it in the box. But for one class, they have to turn it in a hard copy in the box over there. In the other class, it's a virtual. In the third class, they have to record it at home. So kind of figuring out how to help them figure out how to cross the finish line, right? I always tell clients that I work with, an assignment is not complete until you turn it in. Once you have turned it in, then you can give yourself that little check mark. Having the necessary materials or finding them. I, lovingly call some of my clients, including my son, the Hot Mess Express. There's like, you open up their backpack and it's like a giant bag of tricks. You've got like a pencil box and the lunch box, and oh, here's a Rubik's Cube with like magic scarves. And so the ability to put things where they need to go to be able to access them when you need them. If you walk into their bedroom at home and you're like, it looks like a bomb went off in here, like, what is happening? It was just clean, 2 days ago. How in the world did this happen? That is with kids who struggle with executive functioning. That's what it looks like. Growing up, my sister had huge executive functioning struggles, and my mom could not understand why her room was like, you didn't know where the floor was. You didn't know what the carpet color was. Managing time and meeting deadlines is a struggle for kids with executive functioning. So just like the ability to look at a calendar and sequence the events, or okay, this is due then. What am I going to do? When am I going to do it? I've got basketball after school this day. I've got violin lessons here. And then I have to go to the pool with my sister because she has a swim meet on that day. So figuring out how to incorporate outside life things with inside school stuff is a challenge. And going along with that, forecasting and planning ahead. Okay, so this is a really important saying, and I constantly come back to this. So there is a huge difference between I won't do something, and I can't do something. If a child or an adult, if any person doesn't have the skills or the ability, it's not that they won't do it, it's that they physically can't. It's like, if somebody handed me, an oboe and was like, here, go play in a concert, I'd be like, I don't even know what to do with this. So, one of the things in my role when I work with clients, one of the first things that I do is I figure out, okay, is this a true deficit or is this behavioral? Like what is it? Because, you know, we're also working with kids. They're not gonna wanna sit down and do homework or clean their room or, you know, have to work through certain things that aren't fun to them. So teasing out those things to help us figure out whether this is behavioral or not. So if it's behavioral, behavior management strategies will work and they'll be effective and it will be motivating. If it's an issue of lack of ability or lack of skill, those strategies won't work. And so what ends up happening is you think, oh, I'm gonna try a sticker chart, I'm gonna try a poem chart, this is gonna be great. But then you're met with the same results and the kid ends up feeling like, I still can't do this, what's wrong with me? And then you get the self-esteem struggles and just feeling really down on themselves and getting, you know, they get frustrated and you get frustrated and then you start battling. And that's what we wanna avoid, because we also have to remember that, you know, again, these are skills, we have to teach them, and a lot of times, learning something from mom and dad is very different from learning something from a teacher or an outside specialist. So kind of figuring out how to manage your expectations, how to manage their expectations, and work together while saving your relationship. Okay, so here's kind of when I was talking to Farah ahead of time, this is something that she mentioned that, you know, probably you guys would be most interested in, is what is age appropriate to expect out of your children when it comes to executive functioning skills. Because I think a lot of times we don't know what we need to do or what we should expect out of them. And a lot of times our expectations are much higher because these things are inherent for us, right? We know how to, most of them, we know how to do as adults, at least on some level. So for 5 to 7 year olds, so, you know, 5th grade, or kindergarten through like 1st or 2nd grade, depending on the age of your kids. So completing 2 to 3 step tasks. So, okay, it's bedtime, brush your teeth, put on your pajamas, go to the bathroom. That is a perfectly appropriate thing to expect out of a 5 to 7 year old with reminders, okay? Sometimes we can't expect them to do it on their own because also they're putting Legos together, or they're, you know, finishing up the show that they were watching or whatever it is. So prompts are fine. But then if they're, you know, upstairs in the bathroom, they go up, okay, I'm gonna brush my teeth. And they go up to the bathroom and they're like, oh, look what's in this drawer. Hey, I haven't found this toy in so long. Did you know I have bath paint here? I wonder if this bath paint will work on the mirror. Once you get to that stage, then you're like, oh, maybe there's, you know, we haven't even gotten to step 1 of the 2 to 3 step directions. Completing homework with cues. A lot of times, teachers know what's appropriate to expect out of kids at this age. So, you know, ideally, they're not going to give anything that's, you know, beyond their ability. So the students, your kids, are going to need the cues to complete the homework, but what they have to do is, you know, theoretically age appropriate. So you might need to say, okay, let's sit down and do your homework, and then they should be able to sit there and do the worksheet or read the book or whatever it is. If not, then that's something, you know, we'll talk about. Clean area with instructions, so keeping their rooms clean. For this age, and we'll talk about strategies, but since we're here right now, for this age, one strategy that I love is take a picture of each area, print it out, and put it in that area so they see what it looks like. So they know, oh, okay, when mom says to clean my room, she doesn't mean, you know, to just shove it all in the corner. She means, oh, the books go here, the stuffed animals go here. Oh, in this picture, there are no clothes on the floor, but the hamper looks pretty full. So taking pictures to show them, and even like saying to them, oh, hey, go look at that picture, go make this corner look like that picture. That's something that they should be able to do at this age. Bringing materials to and from school with reminders. okay, the night before, you need your book, you've got PE, so you need sneakers, and after school, we've got to go to this lesson, so make sure you bring this with you. They should be able to put that stuff in their backpacks. Get ready, dressed and ready for the day with cues, and then initiate and perform simple chores and hygiene routines. So take out the trash. They should be able to do that at that age. Empty the dishwasher, set the table. Those are, those kind of simple tasks or things that they should be able to do at this age with prompts. 8 to 11-year-olds, record assignments, so write down assignments in their agenda or assignment book or whatever method the teacher uses. They should be able to replicate that on their own at this age. And then we switch from kind of 2 to 3 step directions to a set time, so 10 to 30 minutes of chores or homework after they've had time to write it all down so they know what they're actually supposed to do. So completing a series of things within a time frame, as long as it's reasonable, is something that they should be able to do. Again, bringing the materials to and from school. As they get older, their materials lists and the stuff that they need increases, right? They have to remember more things. Turning in assignments, this is what I was talking about earlier, they should be able to remember, oh, I just spent a lot of time writing that thing. I should really turn this in right now. They should be able to do that. Keeping track of belongings and keeping the areas clean. Starting to plan simple projects. With this, and we'll talk about this more in a little while, I like to start with things that they're interested in or things that are fun. So oh, okay, you wanna have a play date? Cool, what do you wanna do at this play date? What do we need for that project? So kind of walking them through that a little bit. Begin to inhibit impulses and follow rules. So a lot of times at this age, you'll see kind of that impulsive behavior start to decrease a little bit, ideally. And then remember daily schedule changes. So the flexibility piece here is going to ideally increase. So they'll be able to go with the flow a little more, not be as reactive if something suddenly changes, because it's life and that happens, right? Okay, 12 to 14-year-olds, so we're getting middle school-ish now. So looking ahead for most of you guys, plan activities they want to do. So, okay, you want to do swimming, and you want to be enrolled in this art class, and you still want to be competitive in debate. Well, let's talk about how all this is going to work together. So plan that, plan part of a trip. Hey, we're going on this vacation. What are some things you might want to do? How are we going to fit all this in? They can be part of that with you guys. Tackle long-term projects independently from idea to follow through. So figure out what they want to do, what they need to do it, how they're going to accomplish it. Manage self and take care of others. So taking care of a pet or starting to babysit or, think about how to care for other people, forces them out of their own needs into somebody else's. Complete 60 to 90 minutes of chores and homework, which is a bump from the younger grades, and then internalize and follow rules. So begin to think, okay, if I do this, then this will happen. If I don't do this, this could be a consequence. That cause and effect is something that starts to happen here. It is not necessarily natural at the younger ages. It needs to be taught and reinforced and then processed together. And then we get to high school, which for some of you is closer than for others, but manage homework and assignments independently. Extracurricular schedule and calendar once things start to really kind of explode at this point. College applications, I should put that bullet point on here. That's something that comes into play at this age. Avoid careless or risky behaviors for high schoolers. At least identify that if I do this, then this will happen. Whether they actually do that or not, that's a different story. plan their free time, and then start thinking about their long-term goals. Okay, here we go. So keys to intervention. So the biggest thing is if you notice your child struggling in a certain way, be aware of it and be willing to change what you are doing, how you are communicating. So if you try the same thing over and over again, you are going to get the same results over and over again. It's like our kids. You know, why aren't you did this same thing last time and you knew what happened? Well, why aren't you doing it differently this time? But then we find ourselves using the same method of communication, and we're like, why am I getting the same results? Why aren't you changing? Well, as the adult, as the parent, we're the ones who need to say, oh, let me try a different strategy here. This clearly is not working. Don't try the same thing over and over again if it's not working. Start small and gradually build on more skills. One thing at a time. Once you master one thing, move on to the next. So at home for my son, it was, okay, first step, just put on your pajamas after the bath. Just put them on. Once he figured out how to put on his pajamas, it was, okay, put your clothes in the hamper. Now he knows how to do both of those things, but we had to focus on one thing at a time. And that feels manageable. If you start adding, put on your pajamas, put your clothes in the hamper, clean your room all at once, it's very overwhelming, particularly for younger kids. So making sure you're starting small. The smaller the better, and that also helps you feel better about things because you're like, oh, they can do this. You're not getting as frustrated. Remain as consistent as possible across all environments. So really working with the school, figuring out what systems the teachers use at school and implementing those at home when you can do it. So an example, Lauren mentioned I work at this overnight summer camp. I was talking to a parent years ago. At camp, every camper gets a laundry bag. They have to put their clothes in the laundry bag. And the parent was like, it was amazing. When my kid came home from camp, they wanted to hang the laundry bag on the door and they put their clothes in the laundry bag. And so they knew that was the routine at camp and it felt good for them. And they implemented that at home themselves. So the more that you can implement that looks the same, the less confusing it's going to be, and the more environments that it's reinforced, the quicker they're going to be able to pick up on it. Mistakes are okay. They're not going to be perfect. Particularly if kids struggle in this area, they are not going to be perfect. So downplaying it, remaining neutral. You don't want to be super reactive. Oh, yeah, great job putting on your shoes, but we gotta get socks on those feet first. So run back upstairs, grab those socks, come right back down. Instead of, why aren't you wearing socks? You're gonna get blisters, your feet are gonna smell bad. Who wants to smell stinky feet? Downplay it, right? It's all okay. Take things slowly and then just keep on trying. When to be concerned. So I always tell parents, your data points, your kind of sample size is 1, 2, 3, or 4 kids for the most part. The teachers, the specialists, they are working with sometimes hundreds of kids. So really lean on them to figure out what's appropriate, what's not appropriate, what's normal, what's outside of the normal range, and follow their cues. If they're saying things like, yeah, he's really having a hard time turning in his assignments, and you're like, I've seen him do these assignments, I know they're complete, why is he having a hard time with that? Or he's coming to school every day, but he has to go back out to his locker every morning because he forgot X, Y, and Z, or his desk is a mess. So if they're saying things like, ooh, he's really struggling here, that's your cue to say, okay, do we need to look to outside support? Is there something else we need to try? Sometimes you can start internal and be like, okay, well let's, what can we do between the two of us what can we do between the two of us to try and help before going to an outside resource? Sometimes it's, we gotta refer out for this. Like, this is beyond what I can do in the classroom. And that's okay. There's no shame in that. Completing assignments at home but not turning them in once they get to school, we talked about. Finding materials. I don't know, do you guys, do the students at Westminster use laptops like on a regular basis?
Mostly we have iPads.
iPads, okay. So one of the things that has been a recent trend is technology at school and figuring out where to access information, where to find things, where to save things. That is something that requires a lot of skill, because you're also like, when you've got physical things, you can see it all in front of you. When you're on a device, a lot of times it's hidden. So figuring out, really sitting down with your child, and being like, where is this stuff? How do you get to it? And what does the teacher need? So working with the teacher to figure that out, that is a process in and of itself. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. If they're struggling to complete routine tasks at home with the appropriate level of adult involvement. So, when we talked about the room a little while ago, go clean your room is a blanket statement. They're not going to know necessarily what that means. If you say, go pick your clothes up off the floor and put them in a hamper, that's something that if they're unable to do, that's something to be like, oh, what's happening here? If they go up to their room and, put one piece of clothing in the hamper and then they're like, ooh, look at this rock collection. Let me just shine this rock up real quick. That's something that should not necessarily happen. If your child has difficulty keeping the area neat and keeping track of materials due to lack of ability, not lack of desire. So again, if they are unable to do this, not unwilling. I want to be in my room. I'm busy drawing my next great masterpiece. That's different than I can't do it. Like, I don't know how to do it. So for you guys, things to try at home, use as many visual cues as possible. Words are much harder than pictures, particularly at this age, at the lower school age. So if you have like a morning routine, print out a chart, laminate it, put a little whiteboard marker on there, picture of clothes, breakfast, a toothbrush, and backpack, those 4 things, and they can check off once they've done it. That will give them the cues they need. If they say, okay, Mom, I'm ready for school, and you're like, all you have to do is point to the checklist. You don't have to say anything. You're like, oh, right. I didn't brush my teeth this morning. So it saves you from having to repeat yourself like a broken record over and over and over again. A master schedule. So figuring out a way, think of like old school, remember those like old school paper desk monthly calendars, and you would like write on there and then rip it off and it would have notes on the side. Things like that are really, really helpful for kids to see what is coming up, not just for them, but for the family, because it affects them as well. And like, I have seen so many cute ones that you can buy online now to hang up on the wall. And it allows you, like, every person can have a different color or, a different like shape next to them, so they can see what is coming up. And I found that kids really like calendars and schedules. Like, they'll sit there, even if they can't really read it, they'll sit there and be like, oh, it looks like there's a lot of green up there. What has she got going on this week? But it helps them to feel oriented and then more in control. When kids feel, and adults too, when we feel out of control, it's not a good feeling. It feels like everything else becomes unmanageable. So making a master calendar for the family, and you can even like do it like sitting at the dinner table. Oh, what do we have going on tomorrow? Let's write all this down. Or what's coming up for next week? Let's write it all down. And having them be part of the process helps them to also be able to anticipate, oh, if I have this coming up, I need to remember, I need to bring this, or I need to work on that. And that will help them figure out how to build those skills. Same structure across multiple environments. We talked about, again, work with the teachers, partner with them. I know, especially here, they want to do that with you guys. So figure out what they do and what you can implement at home. A lot of times, teachers will say to parents, hey, like, what's worked at home? And it'll also give you insight into being like, well, I know you guys do this at school and we've tried it at home, but that's not really working. So having that data will be really helpful in coming up with strategies that will work across all environments. Pictures we talked about, and then we talked about the strategies at home to learn what might be helpful to try at school. Okay, model breaking down large tasks. So even like, packing for a trip. Oh my gosh, we have this trip coming up. I have so much on my to-do list. Here are all the things I need to do. I think the way I'm gonna handle it is, we're leaving on Friday, so Monday I'm gonna go to the store. Tuesday I'm gonna make sure all the laundry is clean. Wednesday I'm gonna pull out the suitcases. And modeling for them, talking out loud those steps, help them realize, oh, that's something that maybe I should do. Because again, it's not intuitive. They're not gonna know how to do it. Also, following a recipe, I find, is a really good way to practice executive function skills together, because when you follow a recipe, it's very clear. You have the ingredients. Oh, maybe we should get all of our ingredients together first and make sure we have it. We don't want to get to step 4 and be like, I'm out of baking soda. So pulling out all the ingredients, you can incorporate math into it too. And then going step by step with each recipe, or with each step of the recipe, can help foster those executive functioning skills. Working backwards. This is, not something that is necessarily natural. So saying, okay, the project is due on Friday. Here are all the things I need to do. On Thursday, I really need to be finished with the project and just go over my presentation part, which means I need to have it painted on Wednesday, which means I need to have it built on Tuesday. And so helping them work backwards when it comes to big projects. Repeating information using as many senses as possible, so not just your words over and over again. We know it goes in one ear, out the other. So verbally writing it down, literally walking through what I need to bring. Okay, you've got your art class, so let's go see. You're gonna need to bring these markers. Touch the markers. You need to bring the glue. Where's the glue? It's right there. Walking through those steps. Explain what's coming up and your expectations of kids. So this was interesting. So my son had his first soccer game on Saturday, and he kept coming over. Like every time they would, he would come off the field, he would like, come sit with us and chill. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, go with your team. And he got mad, and I was like, oh, no one's ever told him, like, you have to go sit with your team. So be like, sometimes it's important to check ourselves to be like, do they actually know what my expectations are? We were able to have conversations afterwards. Hopefully next week will be different. Make sure your expectations are clear. Checklists. I love checklists. I love Post-it notes. Like, I literally have them everywhere. Get the fun colors, get the fun pens, whatever you need to do to make it fun and engaging. Put Post-it notes everywhere, let them write with their fancy sparkly gel pens or in their Minecraft bubble font, whatever it is. Let them be part of the process to write down the reminders. So put it, where am I going to put this so I remember it? Help them, bring them in. And then reach out for outside help. So there are several executive functioning specialists across Atlanta. There are people online, there's people in school. I know you guys are going to have a separate session on that coming up. So hopefully, lots of places for you guys to get extra help if you need it. And that's what I flew through executive functioning in a nutshell. Yeah.
I like the slide on the educator task and strategy. Any books that you recommend?
Good question. So asked about books. So my favorite one and the one that I recommend first is Smart But Scattered. Smart But Scattered. And that is kind of like my first go-to recommendation. Start with that. And then I always again, with executive functioning, start small and then build. So start with that one for sure.
I'm curious, do you have any particular strategies for impulse management besides medicine? Which is a great strategy.
Yeah.
But or like emotional control, that sort of side of things.
Right. So with impulsivity, and I like to give them something to do. So if they're a very physical kid and they're moving a lot, give them somewhere to move. Hey, here's a hula hoop. You can move as much as you want in this hula hoop. So you're not saying, stop wiggling, stop moving. You're saying, sure, feel free to move here. But don't bounce in the living room with all this breakable stuff, please. Or you can throw pillows all you want here. Or we're going to say out of here. With the verbal filter part. So this one is really hard. It's something that I work with constantly on. A lot of times I'll just say when you get they'll start arguing a lot and just keep going. A lot of times I'll say, hey, dude, pause. Just say okay. That's it. Just say okay, and we're gonna move on. But forcing them to break that hamster wheel feeling can be helpful. They also, if they really struggle, a lot of times I'll say, go do, voice to text and write an email to grandma. Go do something like that. Turn it into something productive. Yeah.
Is there such a thing as too much executive functioning?
That's what I found. I think, when I first think about it, I'm well, if they get too rigid, but then rigidity is executive functioning challenges. So as long as they're able to manage it and feel good about themselves, I would think, we're in good shape. All right, well, yeah, one more over here.
Just wanted to know, so you have put these organization structures and you want them to follow it, but what is the limit? When you've done your best?
And so when to reach so when to reach out for help, is that what you mean?
Yes.
When to reach out for help?
Yes.
When you're hitting your head against the wall and you're I can't do it anymore. I've tried. And that's, that's gonna look different for every person. And sometimes it's gonna be right off the bat, I need outside help because I can't manage it, so I'm outsourcing it. Again, your relationship with your kid is more important than trying all these different things. So outsource it if you need to.
And Dana, what does outsourcing look like? Is that a therapist? Is that an executive functioning post? Is it a pediatrician?
So it's always helpful to start with your pediatrician just because like they know your kid the best and they've often worked with them the longest, but at the same time they don't specialize in it. So, you know, then I would say, okay, if it's, you know, strictly executive functioning, then let me go to an executive functioning specialist. If it's also anxiety or depression or, you know, working through other stuff as well, then I would pull in a therapist who can do all of it.
Well, thank you. I'm sure we have more questions and can keep going on, but we're so appreciative. So many really useful nuggets in every slide. I don't know how much she would charge normally for us to get this information. So, thank you all for coming. And if you can stay, please come over to the library so we can mingle and talk a little bit more about the events. But otherwise, I'll see you all next week at our office hours with Lauren, October 28th. Thank you.